No one in this world can you trust. Not men, not women, not beasts. This you can trust.
Hello and welcome to Glory of Golden State Gaming. I'm your host, SwampSwimmer, and with me as always, the Charlie Brown to my Snoopy, Vespasian.
Nice. Hi, everybody. I'm from Santa Rosa, which is where Charles Schultz is from, so that one hits close to home. Thank you.
Hey, I guess that worked out. But hey, I wanted to have a request, both a request and a question from our viewers. Please comment in the comments below. But one, we are trying to boost up our Twitch channel. So anyone watching, please, if you have a second or two, click on the Twitch link, which is in the description, and hit follow. We're trying to get to 50 followers on Twitch so we can do a bunch of other fun things with my D&D game. But the question for the audience is, what would you like to see live on Twitch from Vespasian and I? Live games, live list reviews. What would you like to see, Vespasian?
Oh, that's a good question. I have always found live games to be really boring. It only once you become a spectator do you start to realize all of the little futzy, time wasting things that happen in a game. So I wouldn't vote for that. I could see D&D being, doing that live being, more compelling. Live list reviews is cool, but I think you kind of get that same experience when they're, after the fact in a way, right?
I agree.
I'll have to think about that.
Might be a little long, but I think live listers views would be fun, so people can react in real time to our opinions about people's lists, which would be really cool.
Yeah, that's a good point. I agree. That would be cool, so that we get like interactivity. Because I remember when Shyhammer used to do them, people would ask questions, live, and he would comment. And I thought that was a good way to kind of make it a little bit more dynamic.
Let's call it right here. Next list review. We're doing it live. I've already worked out the kinks, and we've done 2 episodes of the Dungeons and Dragons live streaming on Twitch. So I worked out all the kinks, so it should go smoothly. But hey, yeah, lastly, please, if you're following here, please go and hit the follow button in Twitch. And if you're not subscribed here, please do that. But let's get to the battle report. Let me see here. So, as you saw in the list review, we went to Sactown Smackdown, a one day 3-game tournament over in Sacramento with all the regulars in the Bay Area, and I got put into Micah, which is a little frightening because Micah is a fantastic player. I have played him less than a handful of times, and I think I've never beat him. So even though I think Warriors is a good matchup to my Beast Herds, I was sweating a little bit of bullets.
Well, and you've got the first or second best army against the worst army. So this is a true David and Goliath story.
True. Hey, if you're interested in my list, go ahead and click the link right above my head. It'll take you to our list review show where we did everyone's list in the tournament. It'll go over mine, go over Micah's. Check it out there. But we're going to go ahead and jump to Micah's list, which is a pretty strong Warriors list. He's got the double sorcerer. One's an apprentice, one's a master. Occultism is on the master, evocation apprentice. The big bad Doom Lord, the big bag Barb Chief on a Wasteland Behemoth, block of Warriors Agreed, block of Horsemen with Great Weapon, 10 Chosen with Greed, 7 Forsworn, which is where the Doom Lord's going to go, and a Forsaken one. Looking at this list, again, I think list-wise, I have a really decent matchup here. because what I really fear is light shooting. Even though he has a good offensive magic phase, I'm feeling good that he doesn't have a bunch of shooting. And
yeah, I think he's, he does, as you said, have a kind of a deceptively, strong damage output with magic. He can go Mark for Doom, Graves Call, Pentagram of Pain, Breath Weapon, right? And that can be pretty effective against your list. But it's all magic focused, right? So you can do things to mitigate it. You can dispel, prioritize, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I think my big concern for you would just be he's actually got some pretty hitty flanking threats, right? I think that that Behemoth and the Forsaken one can help clean up some of your flanking elements and then come back to support. But I do agree in the sort of head-to-head matchup, I think I think your big blocks take off his big blocks, right? In general. But so yeah, I'm interested to see how it goes. How'd you rate? You rated this a green just on list to list?
I think if it was just list to list, I'd put it as a green. But since Micah's behind the steering wheel, I'm a little scared. I'm a little scared.
Okay.
But let's go ahead and get into it. So here's deployment. This was, what was it? Refused Flank and King of the Hill. I chose...
Now hold on, everybody. Hold on. Let's not get too far ahead of ourselves. Look at this painted army we have here. Fantastic.
We're gonna touch on it here, but we will go into more depth into my new painted Beast Herds army in a later video. I'm just gonna leave it that at a later video. But
I'm just trying to give you kudos,
Steve in the East Bay in Sacramento, great painter. I commissioned him to do this army. He actually did. I said, oh man, are you gonna have time to get it done for this one-day tournament? And if not, I'll just play Saurian Ancients, my other army. And he's like, oh yeah, if you send me the list, I can just do those first. I did that. He did that. And so this is about less than half of what I gave him. And so he's working on the rest now, but he got my army done for this tournament. It's a snow, white fur, and all rusted, orange rusted metal theme. So it turned out really great. We'll go deeper into it and have some pictures, and maybe we'll get Steve on the channel to talk about it. But that's in a later video to happen in a few future dates.
Cool. And as an objective observer, I thought it looked great too. So.
Thank you. No. Thank Steve. Steve's the man. Yeah, so it was Refuse Flank.
Okay, so Refuse Flank, King of the Hill.
I chose the objective for him to get to is the pond in the center here.
Okay,
and he chose the hill up here because it was barely not in his deployment zone. Yeah.
Oh wow, really? Oh yeah.
So
okay, sure.
A little bit of a disadvantage there.
Lucky.
So deployment-wise, from my left to my right, I have a Beast Giant, a Wildhorn block with the Shamanism Wizard, Gargoyles. Behind them is a Minnow Stick. Behind them is another Giant. My Minotaur block is here. Another unit of Gargoyles. This is the Scouting Gargoyles. And another Wildhorn block, and then my last Minnow Stick on the top right. He dropped everything early to go first, so this is my response to him. He's got his regular warriors on the left here. This is his Wizard Chariot, the Apprentice on Evocation. This is his Force Worm and Doomlord block in the center. This is his other wizard, his Master on Occultism on the War Platform. And he can run them. This is one downside of my list, but he can run him out running around without. I have no offensive magic and no shooting, so it's one downside. He's got his Chosen up here on the hill, and then his Barb Chief on the Wasteland Behemoth is here, and then the Forsaken one is here, the shell, the brown like shell slug thing.
Yeah.
So I think he...
You placed the gargoyles so that your Minos giant and big block on the right couldn't charge?
Yes.
Like as a response? Okay, why?
I didn't think he was going to push stuff up there to give me a charge first turn anyway. And I always run into, when I put the gargoyles like behind units, I'm always just short of the movement I need. And he was getting the first turn, so he's going to come up. I'm going to respond, and I want that extra movement with my gargoyles. I'm going to respond and set up counter charges. That's how it's going to go, because he doesn't have a lot of shooting offensive stuff anyway, also. And basically I set up, I knew this impassable was here, so I knew the battle was going to happen over here, but I was afraid he was going to move one of his fast moving guys, like for instance, his Wasteland Behemoth, around the impassable to the right here. So that's why I just have one minnow stick on the right here facing that way.
Do the minnow sticks have champs so you can do that cheesy block?
Exactly.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's great for that behemoth.
Yeah, so he gets first turn. And this is what he does. He doesn't charge, obviously, but the random movement Forsworn, he just runs him into the impassable, so he's facing the backside of the impassable right now. And then he just shuffles a little bit. Oh, and I'm sorry, his barbed horsemen were behind the house back here. I think he just didn't want my gargoyles to scout back there.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, so no big movement here. He doesn't push, which surprises me. In the magic phase, he does a little bit of offensive magic. He kills a minnow here. He kills 3 gargoyles, nothing crazy. And it's on to my turn.
I mean, ironically, he outranges you, right? I mean, this is probably one of the few games where he does.
Definitely.
Okay.
So I throw the damage gargoyles up to chaff the Wasteland Behemoth. I throw these gargoyles up to chaff basically his chosen on the hill. And also I set it up as a trap. Like if he wants to go, he needs to take care of him, and if he does, then I'm gonna countercharge them to bejesus. I put the giant over here behind the hill. I realize I need to push on the right and hold on the left. So the giant's sitting behind the hill, waiting for them to get close enough, and then he'll jump out and chaff. And then I move the minnow stick and the wild horns on the right to the parts of the impassable where he cannot charge me with the Forsaken one. There's no way he can random move into either one of these 2 units.
Why do you need to chaff the behemoth? I would think you'd want that behemoth into either your minnow brick or the wild horns if you buff them properly. Did you think about saving that gargoyle?
I probably should have. It probably wasn't the best chaff. I should have saved that one, but I was thinking more of if the Wasteland Behemoth goes in to either one of these, I feel like he can chaff one of these 2 units, not chaff, but like obstruct them. And then he's got the 2 other charges next turn, specifically the Chosen. I think the Chosen are the most dangerous unit for me in his army.
Yeah, they can shred those blocks and the minnows before they can strike. Yeah,
that's what I was thinking. So I think I jumped here. I missed his movement phase. So this is his magic phase. So that's top of 2. He does a little more damage, kills another minnow, and puts on 1 instance of the Rot Within, which is rough. But I was stopping damage. That's what I was stopping. In his phase, he random moves with the Forsaken one into the chapped, the 2 gargoyles, and then overruns a fair amount right in front of my Wildhorn block here. He also does not choose to charge my gargoyles here. He basically reshuffles his battle line again. I think he saw the counter charges and he wasn't feeling it. He moves his Behemoth back a little bit because he didn't want to take the charge from the minnow stick over here. Yeah. Again, not big of a action in his phase and his turn, but it comes to mind. Bottom of 2, I take the charge into the Forsaken one with the Wild Horn. I re-chaff since he didn't charge these gargoyles, and I stopped all the damage to them in the magic phase. I re-chaff, and I end up chaffing all 3 units here: the Chosen, the Wizard, and the Doom Lord block with 1 piece of chaff, which is awesome. Now, one thing to note is his Doom Lord is here on the left of that unit, so I couldn't chaff him, so I throw the Giant out. Again, as another trap. If he wants to charge the Giant, then I'm going to charge him with the Minnow Stick.
Yeah, makes sense.
There, and then again, this Giant in the bottom left, I turn him a little bit. He's still behind the hill, but in case the Barb Horsemen come around the side, I can charge them with the Giant. That's all I really do there. So, in my magic phase, I get off Awaken the Beast on this unit. I pop my +1 strength banner, and I go into the Forsaken one, and I bust him. Yeah.
Goodbye. Okay.
I reform into ranks because I'm afraid of the Wasteland Behemoth coming in, and I want the ranks to be steadfast because my general's right here.
Okay.
So in his turn, he finally takes the chaff off with his Chosen into the gargoyles here. And the other thing he does is he pushes back, which again, I'm very surprised he's doing. He's playing this very cautious. And he moves his Wasteland Behemoth way back into his backfield here. And I think he's doing that because he's waiting for me to make a mistake and waiting for me to expose a weakness and then attack, because he has the range advantage right now with magic. So he's like just letting it be. Yep, he blows up the chaff, obviously. And I forgot, he didn't do anything significant in the magic phase. He just did some damage in random places. So in my turn, okay, what happens here? Yeah, clears the chaff. I take the charge, the kind of decently long charge with my minnow block into his Chosen. So this is mass carnage right here. Yeah, this is a big fight.
Big fight.
I turn this Wildhorn block, reform them again, and come around. Since he moved the Wasteland Behemoth in the backfield there, I'm still hunting the Wasteland Behemoth with my Minotaurs here. And then I turn these guys and push them back into the center of the table to defend the water feature here, basically. And then I don't want the counter charge into my Minnow block with his Doomlord block, so I throw the Giant up. At this point, I'm like, we've traded chaff for... he's taken my chaff, I've taken his Forsaken one, so I'm feeling confident here.
Okay.
In the magic phase, I do... This is his first of 2 mistakes I think he made in this game. Micah, if you're watching. I get Awaken the Beast off, +1 strength. He lets that go. And then I do double Blackwing Totem. The first one he dispels, and the second one I cast, and he chose to use just 2 dice on it. And he rolled the 3 on a 4 bounce spell for Blackwing Totem, which is a big deal here. Because that means not only my characters are going first, but then the rest of the units is going first.
Was he saving his dice?
We
or
talked about it afterwards,
else,
and he said he saved 1 dice after that, and I think he was thinking about dispelling a bounce spell or another totem somewhere. But he's like, I don't know what I was thinking. I should have just thrown 3 dice at that.
Oh my gosh! Yeah.
So this was a big key moment for me. I was anticipating going in and us like mutual destruction. But we'll see. That's what I was anticipating, but with this buff up, I'm feeling very good. And I do. He still takes a chunk out of me, but I blow them up and run them down. So, Chosen off the board. Nothing to complain about. Alright, and in his turn, He takes the chaff charge into my giant here. He's still playing KG on the left. And he backs up with his characters and his Wasteland Behemoth to try to magic off these two Minotaur units.
Yep.
Yep. Magic phase, I think he kills a Minnow here. And that's it. To be honest, he was pumping a lot of Veil dice into his magic, but he was not rolling high for his damage rolls. Of course. All right, so this is where I think he made his second mistake. He disagrees with me on this one. He thinks it was the right move, but he goes into the giant, takes a giant down to like 2 wounds or something. It breaks from combat. He elects to overrun, or to overrun, to pursue. He does so. He catches him, but he goes far, and now I have a flank charge with these wild horns and a front charge with the wild horns that are on the screen, and the minnow block and the minnow stick.
Yeah.
And because of that,
well,
boom.
It's a lot of heat.
It's a lot. It's a lot. And then finally, my giant on the bottom left comes out to chaff the warriors here to prevent the counter charge. My character block here doesn't. The musician has actually died, which was the model that died first out of the command group, so it can't swift reform. So I end up just shuffling left, which they're still in a weird position, just so I can chaff the Wasteland Behemoth so he can't flank charge this Wildhorn unit.
I could be wrong, but I think they actually got away from the dictated order of removal. I think the only rule is that the champion is last.
Well, it doesn't matter.
No. I could be wrong, but I feel like this came up
because there's only one guy left, and that's the champion. So it's the same result.
Okay, yeah, got it.
I continue to push up with the minnow stick on the top, because now this minnow stick is what's going to become my scoring unit. That's what's going to go on his hill.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're there. Magic phase, I get off spectral blades on the unit that's in the side. Boosted spectral blades, mind you. And I do a ton of damage. I think there are 6 of them there, and I put them down to 2 in the character.
Yeah.
And I just take some attack, because really the Forsworn are not that offensive. They're mainly defensive.
Yeah.
So I don't take a lot of
But they're not, his aren't even that defensive, because they're great weapons, so they're just a 3-up. So like I would think.
No, it's great for me. Yeah, he's putting in the high quality attacks into me, but what he needs is high volume.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I feel good here again. In his turn, he takes the charge with the warriors and the barbs into my chaffing giant. He shuffles here more, and he takes his Evo wizard on the chariot with paired weapons, I think, into my minnow stick.
Mm-hmm.
He ends up whiffing and doing only a few wounds, and I go back and I do, I think, 1 or 2 wounds to him. I roll poorly also, so it's a push over here. And in his magic phase, he does more damage and takes off the last minnow in the minnow brick. So the characters are only left, and he puts, I think, he puts 3 wounds on my BSB and 1 wound on my lord.
Chipping away.
That's what he's good at in this list, so hopefully they survive. Yeah, so and then in his turn also, I blow up. I end up killing all. I wipe the rest of the unit and don't touch the Forsworn Lord, and then he runs from combat res, and then the Forsworn Lord blows up, and he gets an extra swing, and a few more Wildhorn die, but I don't have to chase him down. Oh, excuse me. Whew.
Got it. Although it kind of just from the way that this looked, it sort of looks like you might have liked to have pursued from those wild horn on our right, and then gone into the flank. But yeah, it's nice to guarantee that he dies. I agree.
Yeah, I think I would have wanted the overrun, but with the Forsworn, you just can't do it.
Yeah.
All right. So yep, and then he also takes off the giant. He tries to overrun with the horseman to get farther down the hill here, but he doesn't roll high enough to get past his unit.
Yeah.
And then here, and this is, I think, turn 5, I think. Bottom of 5? Bottom of 5. Mm-hmm. This is where I make, I think, a big mistake for myself. I overextended myself. I put my general into the flank of the evocation chariot guy because I need to kill him and save the one remaining minotaur up here so he can take the objective.
Yeah, that makes sense.
My BSB kind of runs down here to support these two units. The big Wildhorn block goes into his Wasteland Behemoth, and these guys, these diminished guys, go into the Warriors. Going into the Warriors was a mistake because really, like, the key to this army is like maintaining 1 or maybe 2 combats and then buffing that 1 combat all to hell. And I couldn't do it with these 2 combats. And also these guys took a few wounds going through the water. See these dead guys here? That's the... I rolled high for the dangerous terrain checks.
But what would you have done? Just walked up in front of them?
I would have walked.
You still wouldn't have been able to buff.
I would have let these guys go. Just say they're a dead unit and use them as a speed bump.
I see. Okay.
And then also here, the minnow stick that was in the center here, in the water, charges the flank of the behemoth, corners out, and will overrun into his wizard, which is super nice.
Awesome.
Yeah. In the magic phase, I get another boosted spectral blades on this Wildhorn unit. I freaking love that spell.
Did you blow up your mage or something?
Oh, yeah.
What's wrong with that poor little guy?
This is my new strategy. Like, when I really need the boosted spectral blades, I'm rolling 5 dice no matter what. Because if he blows up, he's only an apprentice. He's only 250 points.
Right.
And with the book, I am rolling 5 dice with a +2. Like, that's very hard to dispel.
Right.
I
mean, that's fair.
And basically, I blew up my 250 point wizard, but then this Wildhorn unit's gonna chop down his behemoth. Which they do. The Minotaurs overrun into the wizard. I turn to face. This is at the end of the game. This is turn 6, so I'm just gonna describe what happens in turn 6. I bounce down here when I charge his warriors, which is really bad. Then, since I bounced in his turn, he charges my BSB. My lone BSB, who's over, the model's over here now, but he kills him. He moves his barbs into touching the water to get the secondary. So yeah, basically, if I hadn't have charged with the Wildhorns down here and just speed bumped him, we still would have tied secondary, because in bottom of 6 I moved the one single Minotaur up onto the hill. And I would have kept my BSB, which is 360 points plus 200 for the BSB. Right.
Okay. Yeah, depending on where you ended up in the points progression, that could have been 1 to 2 battle points, right? So
and the other funny thing that happened at the top of the 6 was he knew these Minotaurs were into the flank of his wizard, so he knew the wizard was dead, right? And so he started 5 dicing spells to try to kill my Minnow Warlord, and he blew himself up by rolling triple 6s, but then it only takes my Minnow Warlord down to 1 wound, which was like, whew, whew.
Nice. Okay.
So Yeah, a really
Bloody
great
game.
game, a really
Jeez.
strategic game. But it ends up we tie secondary, but it ends up with a 12 to me.
Awesome.
So I'm very pleased.
Okay.
I guess we'll get to this at the last battle report, but this tournament, I think I had a great time at this tournament, but it made me realize some really great things in my army that I'm really pleased with. Actually, let's just talk about them now. Is basically these big Wildhorn blocks with an apprentice in each one on shamanism, one on evocation, and the evocation wizard with the Book of Arcane Mastery. I think it does so much work for me. It can go into basically anything. It's got the volume of attacks to kill big units, and it's got, if it's buffed right, which I can do, it will kill characters. So I don't know, I'm just really pleased with this setup. I'm working around, I think the rest I'm still working on for the next tournament, but excuse me, this core setup I really, really, really like. What do you have to say about this game? Anything you think I messed up?
No, I mean, I think I agree with you that, you know, I think he was maybe a little overly cautious. You know, I think that chaffing the behemoth that first turn was a mistake, but
Yeah,
you didn't end up paying for it. So I think
I agree with that, yeah.
that's fine. Yeah, maybe you could have, you know, maybe you could have kept that, you know, that sorcerer charging to that one Mino stick. That was the thing that helped you tie the objective in the back there. I think, you know, you probably could have kept that Mino stick back further, you know, within the 12-inch march of the, you know, of the objective for the last turn, and just taking no risks on that. But it ended up being the same outcome, but that's maybe a minor thing. And I think there was one, if you progress forward, this is super minor, and he didn't even end up taking advantage of it, but a couple more. It's when you chaff, the second time you chaff, this one here. So the thought occurred to me that, you know, I think that chariot is a 1-up, right? So he could have charged and pinned your giant with that chariot, the way you have it positioned there, and then brought his Doom Bus around the giant, right? And kind of used the giant to chaff what you ultimately ended up doing to him, right? And just pinned the giant there with that sorcerer, who I think has a portion of strength, if I recall correctly. And he probably took Hellfire on him, given this matchup, so he could have just been dumping, you know, Hellfires into him in combat, stuff like that. I mean, he didn't end up doing it, but when I saw this, I was like, if he pins that, brings the Doomlord brick down, and keeps everything in your front, and kind of sets it up so that you can't get that full strength Wildhorn brick in, I think that Doom, you know, block can tank, you know, pretty much anything except for what you ended up getting, which was like half your army into its front and flank, right? So that might have been one little thing, and you could have avoided it by just having the giant less than flush to the front of the Doom block.
That was actually intentional by me. I remember this now, because the way we were set up, he could see the flank.
Oh, he could get around. So you were chaffing it. Okay,
also,
that's fair. That's fair. Okay. Yeah. No. Otherwise, I think you played it well. I think you used that impassable. You know, you used that impassable well. I think you were at a disadvantage on the terrain choice, I would say. I think having to pick that pond, which is so close to his deployment zone, is risky. I wonder. I mean, maybe looking at a different side would have been helpful. But we don't need to get that. That's like completely changing the look of the game. We don't need to get that deep into it. And you're a fighty list, so like you want to be up in the middle, so it makes sense. No, I think you did well, played well. He's a good player. Good work.
There you go. So
Congrats.
A good start to me. 12 points going on for round 1. Next battle report, we will be doing your first game which you are against Travis, if I'm correct.
That's right.
Also Warriors.
Also Warriors.
So
yeah.
thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one.
Thanks, everybody.